I gave up my dreams to live in an apartment with my wife for 10 years, finally waiting for our wedding. But on the wedding day, she said she had an emergency and left me alone in a hurry. I waited the entire day among the bewildered and mocking guests. It wasn't until she posted a photo on her social media winning the National Film Award for Best Director, and left a message for her dead first love, David, after waiting all these years, I finally fulfilled your dream. I suddenly understood. These 10 years were nothing but a lie. When Sarah called me, I was staring blankly at the trending topics filling the screen. Renowned director returns after a decade of silence with a masterpiece, solely to fulfill the dream of her deceased first love who died of cancer. Director Sarah wins Best Director, says inspiration comes from a friend who resembles her first love. Reading those trending topics made me feel utterly cold, but Sarah's tone on the other end of the phone was indifferent. Robert, I really had an emergency today. The National Film Awards ceremony couldn't wait. You can understand, right? Seeing that I didn't speak, she paused before saying, don't look at the trending topics. They're all nonsense written by unscrupulous reporters for clicks. I'll be home soon. Prepare a bowl of soothing herbal tea for me. Remember to cut the pear into smaller pieces. The pieces you made last time were too big, Mrs. Miller couldn't eat them. Sarah kept talking, oblivious, but I suddenly interrupted her. Sarah, let's get a divorce. There was a moment of silence on Sarah's end, followed by a furious outburst. She lashed out at me, Robert, are you serious? It's just missing the wedding. The National Film Awards ceremony only happens once, but a wedding can be held any day. Don't be so dramatic. I've already asked the wedding planner to reschedule. Go pay the deposit later. Listening to her speak as if it were all perfectly reasonable, I found it incredibly ironic. For 10 years of marriage, I had revolved around Sarah. The slightest thing that didn't go her way, and she would lash out at me just like this. Before, for the sake of our relationship, I would always humble myself and beg her forgiveness. But now, I was tired. Pressing my fingers against my temples, I repeated to her, I'm serious. I've already typed up the divorce agreement. Remember to sign it later. Realizing my attitude was different than usual, Sarah's tone softened for a moment. Robert, the wedding was your idea. I just missed it because something came up. Isn't it because you didn't coordinate the time properly? I said I'm willing to have another one. This awards ceremony was really important to me. Don't make a fuss. A grown man always talking about divorce is really annoying. A month ago, Sarah's new movie, Island in My Heart, based on our 10-year relationship, suddenly became a huge hit. With this movie, she won this year's Best Director award. When she learned she had one, Sarah was in the dressing room wearing her wedding dress and getting ready. But she abandoned me and all the guests outside without hesitation and rushed to the awards ceremony. On the big screen, she held the award, crying uncontrollably, recounting her creative journey over the years. She even publicly stated on social media that the new movie was to help her first love, who died 10 years ago, fulfill his dream. That's when I knew I was just a substitute for her first love, David. Thinking back on all the little things in my years with Sarah, David's shadow was everywhere. My heart was numb with pain. I told Sarah, if it's annoying, then let's not be together anymore. Go find your David. He's interesting. Sarah on the other end of the phone seemed to be hit where it hurt and instantly exploded in rage. What right do you have to mention David? You're even jealous of a dead man. You're completely unreasonable. I must have been crazy to marry Samian. Like you. You want a divorce? Fine. I'll give it to you. Sarah hung up the phone immediately. The next second, a divorce agreement was sent to me. I looked at the contents. It basically required me to walk away with nothing. Even though I knew Sarah didn't have deep feelings for me, my heart felt like it was being stabbed by 1,000 knives at that moment. But our relationship, she was the one who pursued me first. 10 years ago, I first met Sarah at an investor's reception. At that time, her movie had won an award once, but after that, she hadn't produced any influential work. At the star-studded gala, she was hitting walls everywhere, didn't even have a seat at a table, and could only stare blankly at the steak on my plate. I offered her a steak, and the next second Sarah was in tears, holding my hand and asking if I could be the male lead in her new movie. I refused, but Sarah started appearing in my life frequently. She reminded me to wear more clothes when it was cold, brought me an umbrella when it rained. Even the packed lunch I ate every day was made by her. I was moved by her efforts, fell in love, and got married in less than a year. After we got married, Sarah never had much income. I offered to let her move into my house, but she said she couldn't accept favors without contributing and insisted on renting an apartment outside. Over 10 years, my income did increase, but all the money was taken by Sarah to buy all sorts of equipment. Even the money for the wedding was saved by me pinching pennies. But Sarah ruined the wedding I had looked forward to for so long, all for a so-called award ceremony. I still remember the look in Sarah's eyes, shining brightly the moment she answered the phone, and her eagerness to rush to the award ceremony, leaving me alone, regardless of how I felt. And the little things she spoke about with her first love, David, tearfully on the stage at the award ceremony. It was far more enduring than our 10 years toget. Her. The unreasonable things in our daily life that I couldn't explain suddenly made sense. I'm someone from the Midwest, but Sarah always forced me to eat Cajun food. She also bought me many white shirts that I didn't like at all. She even ignored my alcohol allergy and bought me perfume that made me dizzy and nauseous. I resisted, I refused. Every time, Sarah gave me a hard time. Then, after I gave in, she would reluctantly offer a smile. Now, looking at the information about David released by the media, I finally understood. It turned out that the person who liked wearing white shirts, eating Cajun food, and wearing perfume was David. And I was just a substitute living in his shadow. Yes, the wedding was my idea. But Sarah, you were the one who suggested getting married in the first place. I saved money for years for this wedding, didn't even buy new clothes when the seasons changed, only to be called dramatic in the end. Sarah, I get tired too. Let's end this relationship here. After signing the divorce agreement, I placed it in the most conspicuous spot in the apartment. Then I contacted an agent to cancel the lease on the current apartment. After the divorce, I planned to go overseas and pursue my dream of photography that I had always wanted. For Sarah's sake, I had stayed in the country for years, doing design work I didn't like, just to earn more money and give her a better life. Now, it was clear I didn't need to. The agent's call didn't go through, but Sarah came back. She placed the large award trophy in the most prominent spot in the living room, treating it like a precious treasure, without even noticing me packing my luggage. It wasn't until she saw me carrying my suitcase in the living room that a heavy displeasure appeared on her face. Where are you going? Did you prepare the soothing herbal tea I asked you to make? Mrs. Miller is still waiting to drink it. Clearly, she had completely forgotten our previous argument. I didn't say any tea. And continued to take my luggage and get ready to leave, but Sarah couldn't wait and went into the kitchen. Seeing the cold stove and empty pots inside, she couldn't help but lose her temper with me. Robert, what's wrong with you? Didn't I tell you to make soothing herbal tea? It's the change of season, and Mrs. Miller's throat is uncomfortable. Can't you be more thoughtful? Hurry up, go to the grocery store and buy the freshest pears. Remember to buy ones with thin skin, they're sweeter and easier to digest. Sarah ordered me around like she was treating like a servant. She didn't care about how I was feeling at all. My heart suddenly felt chillingly cold. After we got married, Sarah never took care of me like she used to. Even when I worked hard and drank until I threw up, and wanted her to make me some hangover soup, Sarah refused. Robert, I'm very busy. I don't have time to do these things for you. Besides, I don't know how. When I asked about the packed lunches from before, she said she ordered takeout for me. I was silent. 10 years of marriage, I thought Sarah genuinely didn't know how to do these things, but now I understood. It wasn't that she didn't know, she just wasn't willing to put in the effort for me. Taking a deep breath, I swallowed all that bitterness. But Sarah exploded. She threw my luggage onto the floor and yelled at me. Robert! Enough! It's just one wedding. I've already agreed to reschedule it for you. What else do you want? The suitcase was smashed to pieces, and my favorite camera was also shattered. Watching my old companion of 10 years break into pieces, I knelt down heartbroken to pick it up, but Sarah kicked it directly out the door. The camera rolled down the stairs, its already cracked body completely dismembered. I trembled all over, but Sarah was unmoved and even continued to accuse me. All you do is fiddle with these broken machines all day, and you haven't accomplished anything. I'm smashing this junk all day so you won't be distracted by this kind of thing in the future. Clenching my fists repeatedly, I, who had always been good-tempered, suddenly interrupted her. I've signed the divorce agreement. It's on the table. Remember to sign it and give it to me. Sarah froze, then looked back and indeed saw the divorce agreement on the table. A trace of panic flashed in her eyes, and her tone softened. Robert, I had a bad attitude just now. I apologize. But Mrs. Miller's throat is really uncomfortable. Can you just do a good deed and help out? Please? Sarah pleaded patiently, but it was all for David's mother. I saw clearly. I abandoned the useless luggage, took only my identification, and left. Sarah's patience reached its limit. She grabbed something from the table and threw it hard at me. Robert! You've got guts. Don't come back once you walk out that door today. I'm definitely getting a divorce from you. My head was hit by a cup, and blood burst from my forehead. Sarah's eyes showed a momentary hesitation. She wanted to call out to me, but seeing my back as I walked straight out without looking back, she couldn't help but say something harsh again. Go ahead and leave. A useless man who wasted so many years of my youth. You won't get anything from divorcing me. I didn't take her words to heart. In 10 years of marriage with Sarah, our shared property was pitifully little. If I ended up with nothing, so be it. I just wanted to be separated from her. Blood was still flowing from my head, so I took a taxi to the hospital. The doctor said the wound was a bit serious and needed stitches. I was arranged to wait aside, but my phone in my pocket rang. Mr. Johnson, the apartment you mentioned, I'm afraid you can't cancel the lease. Picking up the phone, the agent's troubled voice came from the receiver. I frowned and asked, why? The agent on the other end gave me an answer that shocked me. We can't find your lease agreement here. That's impossible. I quickly denied it and pulled out the lease agreement I had. The agent told me that the contract in my hand was forged. Not only that, but even the apartment I had been renting was in Sarah's name. My mind felt like it had been struck by lightning. I froze in place, reluctantly searching for any evidence that could prove I had indeed rented the apartment, even finding transfer records. The agent also heard the urgency in my voice and told me not to worry, he could help me find out who the recipient was. I sat on the bench in the hallway, anxiously waiting for the agent's search results. The next second, an incredibly familiar voice came from inside the slightly ajar hospital room door. Mom, I made this soothing herbal tea for you myself. The pears were just picked this morning from the private estate overseas and airlifted here, and the rock sugar is top quality from my sugar refinery. Have a taste. It was Sarah. I looked through the half-open door and indeed saw Sarah sitting by the hospital bed, feeding Mrs. Miller the soothing herbal tea from an exquisite ceramic bowl. I had seen that white ceramic bowl before when I accompanied my company's boss to an auction. One bowl cost $1 million. Sarah didn't have an income, did she? How could she afford such a fine white ceramic bowl? Before I could figure out the reason, Sarah in the hospital room spoke to Mrs. Miller again. Mom, did you receive the money I transferred this month? Eat whatever you want, don't save money for me. Mrs. Miller shook her head, not yet, but you don't have to keep sending me money. After all, you're married to Robert now. Robert will have an opinion if you keep giving money to the mother of your ex. Sarah scoffed at this. What opinion could he have? He voluntarily gave you that money. Don't worry about it. David is gone, you're my mother now. I'll call Robert and ask him why he hasn't transferred the money yet. Saying that, Sarah dialed my number. The next second, her impatient voice immediately came from the receiver. Robert, why haven't you paid this month's rent? Can't you stop being so low? You're even delaying paying the old lady's rent. Compared to David, you're truly far behind. I didn't hear anything Sarah said after that. but I pushed open the hospital room door directly and stared into Sarah's eyes, asking her, "So, the rent I paid was all used by you to support David's mother, right?" Sarah had no idea I would appear at the hospital. After a second off, she started accusing me. "Robert, what do you mean? Are you stalking me?" My voice, however, was terrifyingly cold. "Answer my question." Sarah clearly didn't want to talk about this issue and tried to change the subject several times. Even Mrs. Miller felt the awkward atmosphere between us and tried to mediate. "Robert, don't be angry. As a lonely old woman who lost her son, my life is indeed difficult. Sarah is only doing this because of David." "Shut up. I wasn't talking to you." Anger intertwined in my heart, and I directly interrupted Mrs. Miller. She was also startled by my attitude and began coughing violently. Sarah immediately became furious. While gently patting Mrs. Miller's back, she spoke to me. "Robert, what's wrong with you? Mrs. Miller is already so pitiful after losing her son. Why are you yelling at her? Also, your rent is paid to the landlord. Don't spread rumors about me and Mrs. Miller." Sarah adamantly denied it, and Mrs. Miller also cried out that I was bullying her. The argument even attracted the hospital staff. After understanding what happened, they all accused me of being too cold-blooded. "Mrs. Miller is already so pitiful. Why are you spreading rumors about her? Even if Director Sarah did give Mrs. Miller money, she's her deceased fiancé's mother. What's wrong with that? You're just being ridiculous." That's when I learned that Sarah had always presented herself as David's fiancée to the outside world. Thinking about our 10-year marriage without even one wedding, I suddenly felt ridiculous. "Sarah, David is your fiancé, so what am I?" I asked her. Sarah chose to remain silent. The hospital security guards were already there, pushing me, treating me as someone causing trouble, and telling me to leave. The next second, I revealed my marriage certificate with Sarah. The bright red booklet, the clear official seal. My relationship with Sarah was laid bare. The security guards who had been pushing me froze, and even the doctors who had been standing on their moral high ground looked completely awkward. "Did you see clearly? I am her legal husband." The doctors were silent, while Sarah's eyebrows furrowed tightly. "So what? Even if you are my legal husband, that's no reason for you to insult Mrs. Miller. Apologize to her." Sarah demanded that I apologize to Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Miller on the bed looked at me triumphantly like a victor. Looking at her face, which was 7 or 8 parts similar to David's, I just felt disgusted. "Why should I apologize?" "Because you slandered Mrs. Miller by saying she took your money," Sarah said with a confident expression. The doctors and nurses who had been a bit awkward just moments ago all turned against me, accusing me of being unkind. Just then, the agent's call came in. I pressed the answer button and put it on speakerphone. The next second, the agent's clear voice came through the receiver. "Mr. Johnson, I've checked. Your rent was transferred to a woman named Clara Miller. Do you know this person?" Clara Miller was David's mother's name. Sarah's expression suddenly turned panicked. But she still spoke stubbornly. "That doesn't prove anything. Mrs. Miller's life is so difficult. We rented her apartment. What's wrong with supplementing her?" I truly didn't know how she could say such a shameless thing. I directly threw the photo of the property deed with her name printed on it at her face. Sarah's expression turned from righteous indignation to pale. I also told her, "No matter how kind I am, it's not a reason for you to rent your own apartment to me and then transfer the rent I earned through hard work to your ex's mother for living expenses. I will sue to the end." Slamming the door, I left the hospital. Sarah's voice comforting Mrs. Miller sounded behind me. "Mom, don't worry about him. He's just stubborn. I'll talk to him properly later." Ha, stubborn. For 10 years of marriage, Sarah's attitude towards me had always been one of treating like a servant. Even the janitor downstairs got more smiles from her than I did. I always thought it was because I wasn't working hard enough, wasn't giving her the life she wanted, which was why Sarah rarely smiled at me. Now it seems, it was just because I wasn't in her heart. After leaving the hospital, my mother called. "Robert, What's going on between you and Sarah? Are you two fighting? My mother's cautious voice made my nose sting. She wasn't in good health and had been recuperating overseas. After I married Sarah, she had asked more than once to see her daughter-in-law. But Sarah always made excuses, saying she wasn't feeling well and couldn't fly. I knew it wasn't her who wasn't well, it was Mrs. Miller. She couldn't bear to let Mrs. Miller live alone in the hospital, but she made me leave my mother overseas for years to stay with her in the country. In 10 years of marriage, she even always called my mother Mrs. Johnson. I sacrificed too much for Sarah over these years. Thinking about my mother worrying about me across the ocean, I took a deep breath and told her, "It's okay, I'm just planning to get a divorce." My mother was silent for a moment. I thought she would tell me to make things work with Sarah, but she sighed. "Maybe it's for the best. I could see that Sarah's heart wasn't with you for a long time, but I never said anything, afraid it would hurt you." My mother's words made my heart ache again. She knew everything, but she kept quiet for my happiness. I promised my mother that I would fly over to be with her as soon as the divorce was finalized. My mother was very happy but told me not to rush and to take care of my own affairs first. "Oh, by the way, have you hired a lawyer? Emily is a lawyer, and she's in the same city as you. How about I introduce you?" Emily? A little girl who used to follow me around saying Robbie this, Robbie that suddenly appeared in my mind. Before I could refuse, a text message popped up. "My mother also urged me. I told someone to add you. Emily is really good. She's a top-notch lawyer. With her handling the case for you, you'll definitely win. Take her out to dinner. Remember to be proactive." I looked at the text message saying, "Robbie, it's Em," and accepted. Emily happened to be doing something near the hospital and immediately came over with her bag when she heard I was there. Seeing the wound on my forehead, she immediately pulled me to the hospital. She found the best doctor to stitch me up and bought a lot of medicine for me. Listening to her seriously tell me how to use each medication, and finally taking out a pen and sticky note to write it down because she was still worried, I felt a strange feeling in my heart. After all, when I was with Sarah, I was always the one playing the role of caregiver. Sarah just needed to go out for afternoon tea every day and come back to complain that the new bag I bought her wasn't stylish enough and made her look bad when negotiating deals. I took the sticky note from Emily's hand and told her not to write anymore. But Emily's eyes were filled with seriousness. "No, Robbie, the wound on your head is so big. If you don't take care of it, it will definitely scar. I'll be done writing soon, just wait." In my 30 years of life, this was the first time I knew that a man could also be cared for by a woman. Before, even when I burned my finger cooking for Sarah, she would just say I was being dramatic. Eileen spent 10 minutes meticulously recording the instructions for all the medications. She even clearly marked the order in which to take them. After doing all that, she put away her pen and paper and asked what I needed her for. I was silent for a moment, but still told her about what happened between me and Sarah. A trace of heartache flashed in Emily's eyes, and she quickly offered a solution. "In this situation, I suggest filing a lawsuit directly." "Sue Sarah?" I asked her. Emily shook her head. "No, sue David's mom. That will be faster." I accepted Emily's suggestion. The lawsuit was quickly drafted and submitted to the court. Originally, I planned to stay and wait for the court hearing, but my mother's care facility called and said she wasn't doing well. Emily told me to go take care of my mother without worry, she would handle the lawsuit. I bought a plane ticket for that afternoon. While waiting for the plane at the airport, Sarah called. "Robert, what are you doing? The wedding planner said they can't reach you." I was bewildered. Why would the wedding planner call me? About the wedding, of course. I've already arranged everything with them. We'll have another wedding, the American style you like best. I've even paid the deposit, and I hired a professional photographer. When are you coming to take wedding photos with me? Sarah's tone was trying to be pleasing, but I found it laughable. Before, I begged Sarah to take wedding photos with me, but she said it was a waste of time and absolutely refused. Now she was willing to hire a professional photographer to take pictures with me. But I didn't need it anymore. I coldly reminded her. Sarah, have you forgotten? We're already planning to get a divorce. There's no need for wedding photos or anything. Sarah immediately became anxious. What divorce? Why would we get a divorce? Robert, I know you're still angry about that day. I've already transferred the rent money back to your account. Stop being mad at me, okay? Mad? She actually thought this was about me being mad. I remembered how, for the high rent, I worked outside even in 100-degree heat, running errands, not daring to go to the hospital even when I got heat stroke. All because she said she liked this apartment and wanted to live here. But in the end, the apartment owner was her, and the rent I earned with my life was given to her deceased first love's mother as living expenses. My heart was as cold as ice. I told Sarah, don't say anymore. I said I would pursue this to the end, and I will. Returning the money is what you should do. Oh, and remember to sign the divorce agreement. Sarah wanted to say something else, but I hung up the phone. Before turning off my phone, a new trending topic hit the hot list. It was Sarah and David taking wedding photos in the hospital room. In the photo, David's life was counting down, but Sarah was still wearing a wedding dress, smiling sweetly by his side. If you looked closely, you could even see tears of reluctance in her eyes. The media praised Sarah as a model girlfriend, staying by her boyfriend's side even when he was seriously ill. News articles celebrating their love were everywhere. Sarah frantically tried to get people to take down these trending topics, even revealing her identity as the CEO of Sterling Corporation. But no one listened. Seeing her helpless expression, I smirked. I calmly turned off my phone. I hurried to my mother's care facility. The doctor said her condition was critical and she needed rest. I dropped everything and stayed by her side to take care of her. I didn't even turn on my phone. Under my careful nursing, my mother's health finally improved. She was even able to go out and sunbathe with me. Walking with her every day, I felt like I was back in my childhood, feeling safe and content. Sarah's appearance was completely unexpected. That day, I had just pushed my mother out to sunbathe when I saw a familiar figure standing outside the care facility. I hadn't seen her in a month, and Sarah looked much more haggard than before. The moment she saw me, tears welled up in her eyes, and she called out my name pitifully, Robert. My body stiffened. I wanted to turn and leave, but Sarah came forward and grabbed my arm. Not wanting to worry my mother, I asked the nurse to take her for a walk. At the entrance of the care facility, Sarah held my hand, looking wronged. Robert, why didn't you answer my calls? The trending topics are all untrue. Don't believe what those unscrupulous media outlets say. You are always the person in my heart. She humbly apologized to me, her tone filled with an anxiety I had never heard before. I asked her, what about the photos then? Were they photoshopped by the media too? Sarah was silent for a moment, and I continued. Sarah, we've been married for 10 years, and we don't even have a single photo together. Even before the wedding, when I said I wanted to take wedding photos, you kept putting it off. Now I know why. It's not that you don't like taking pictures, it's because the person taking pictures with you wasn't the person you liked, right? And your family background, the CEO of Sterling Corp, Sarah. We were together for 10 years, and I had no idea your family was so wealthy. A sarcastic smile hung on my lips, and my sharp words made Sarah flustered. She cried and apologized to me. It's not like that, Robert, I just wasn't ready. Well, that works out perfectly. You don't need to be ready now. Did you bring the divorce agreement? When will you sign it and give it to me? Sarah panicked and cried, begging me not to get a divorce. Honey, I was wrong about the wedding photos. I've already destroyed all those photos. I didn't mean anything by hiding my family background. I can transfer all my assets to you. Please don't leave me. Sarah was humble to the point of being in the dust, but I handed her the divorce agreement I had prepared earlier. Sign it. She shook her head and refused. But I sighed and told her I was the one who posted the wedding photos of you and David online. Sarah's pupils seemed to have experienced an earthquake. She looked at me in disbelief and asked, why? Because I wanted to divorce you sooner, I answered calmly. Sarah collapsed onto the ground, seemingly unable to believe such cold words could come from the man who used to love her dearly. The next second, her phone suddenly rang. It was Mrs. Miller calling. Mrs. Miller cried to Sarah, "Sarah, Robert is suing me. He says I committed fraud and wants to send me to prison. I'm already old. What's the difference between going to prison now and dying? Please talk to him. Tell him not to send me to prison, okay?" Mrs. Miller was panicked like a dog, and Sarah looked at me in disbelief. I shrugged at her. "These are just the appetizers. I have a lot more information about you and David. If you don't want him to be criticized even after his death, sign the divorce agreement sooner." I saw Sarah's face turn gray, and then she let go of my hand and fled as if escaping. By threatening David and his mother, I was sure Sarah would sign the divorce agreement quickly. And she did indeed arrange to meet me. In the coffee shop, she placed various stock transfer agreements and property transfer documents in front of me. I raised an eyebrow at her, and Sarah's eyes were full of pleading. "Robert, these are all my assets. I'll give them all to you, please. Let David's mother off the hook." I interrupted her. Casually flipping through one of the contracts in front of me, valued at over $100 million, I was surprised by Sarah's sincerity, but I still refused her. "That's very sincere, but it's not what I want. I just want to divorce you." Sarah's eyes were filled with pain, and her voice began to choke up. Holding my hand, she looked distressed. "Robert, do you really want to divorce me? I've realized why mistakes. I won't interfere with David's affairs anymore. I just beg you to stay with me. I can move in with your mother. Didn't she always want to see me? I can stay at the care facility with her every day from now on. Please?" These were the words I had longed for 10 years. For 10 years, there wasn't a single day when I didn't wish Sarah would focus less on David and more on me and my mother. But it had been 10 years, and I couldn't see even a hint of affection from Sarah towards me. My heart had repeatedly grown cold while waiting. That award ceremony was just the final unveiling, forcing me to wake up from self-deception. I had to admit that the wife I had been married to for 10 years had another man in her heart. I was tired and weary. Since I couldn't win, there was no need to fight anymore. Closing my eyes, I told Sarah, "Mrs. Miller's case is going to court tomorrow. If you don't want her to go to prison, sign the divorce agreement now." Sarah's lips trembled slightly. She repeatedly asked me why I had to be this way. But I stood up and prepared to leave. Just as I was about to walk out of the coffee shop, Sarah finally picked up the pen and signed her name on the divorce agreement. I also breathed a sigh of relief and told her, "I'll wait for you at City Hall tomorrow morning. Once the procedures are done, I'll withdraw the lawsuit." Sarah's body went limp, and she actually fainted just like that. I hesitated for a moment but chose to leave. The divorce procedures were completed quickly. In front of Sarah, I called Emily and told her to withdraw the lawsuit. Mrs. Miller was spared, but Sarah's face never showed any sign of happiness. She stopped me and asked, "Robert, do we really have no chance to start over?" I didn't understand what she was clinging to. I turned and got into the car Emily had come to pick me up in. Sarah shouted my name loudly. Seeing that I didn't respond, she simply started chasing after the car. In the rearview mirror, her figure got further and further away, and finally, she stumbled and fell to the ground. But I didn't look back. My mother's health remained the same. The doctor said she might not have much time left. I bought 2 plane tickets, wanting to take her around the world and fulfill her dream of traveling the globe when she was young. While waiting at the airport, I unexpectedly saw Emily. When I asked, it turned out we were on the same flight. Seeing me, her face flushed, and she shyly said, "I visited your mom yesterday, and she said you were planning a trip around the world. I also really like traveling, and I know a bit about caregiving. Robbie, do you mind if I join you?" Why would I mind? Emily had helped me so much, I couldn't thank her enough. The 3 of us set off together. Along the way, she helped me take care of my mother, and we all had a great time. At every scenic spot, Emily would proactively take photos of me and my mother to commemorate the trip. But behind us, there was always a little shadow, following us not too far away. I tried to shake off the person several times but couldn't, so I finally gave up. At the last stop, my mother suggested that Emily join us for a photo. Emily was overjoyed. After setting up her phone, she came over to take a picture with us. The moment the shutter flashed, my mother placed my hand on top of Emily's, then quietly passed away. Emily stayed with me to handle my mother's funeral arrangements. According to her will, I left her in the Antarctic. The day after the funeral, Emily asked me what my plans were. I said I didn't know. I had been chasing Sarah's footsteps for so many years, I had almost forgotten myself. But Emily, as if by magic, pulled out an invitation letter for an international photography competition from behind her back. I was a bit surprised, but she told me, "I saw you really liked photography before. I took the liberty of signing you up for this photography competition, Robbie. You're not mad, are you?" My nose stung, and tears almost fell. I told her, "But I haven't touched a camera in many years. I'm worried." But Emily encouraged me. "Don't worry, Robbie. I believe in you. Besides, I showed some of your past photography work to professionals, and they all said you have the talent to win an award. Robbie, just for the sake of your dream from back then, take a chance, okay?" Seeing the hope in Emily's eyes, I nodded. In the following days, Emily went out with me to go out to practice. But my equipment was too old, and the pictures I took were always unsatisfactory. The competition was approaching, and Emily, without telling me, spent a large sum of money to buy me a set of professional photography equipment. Looking at the equipment, which was worth almost her entire year's salary, I absolutely refused to accept it. But Emily pretended to be angry. "Robbie, good equipment helps. I bought it for you because I saw you had the potential to win an award. If you don't accept it, you're questioning my judgment, and then we won't be friends anymore." Seeing the nervousness in her eyes, I finally accepted the equipment. Something in my heart seemed to be melting. The photography competition came quickly. With my excellent skills and the new equipment Emily gave me, I won the grand prize. On the day of the awards ceremony, Emily was even more excited than me, constantly checking my attire and appearance. With her encouragement, I stepped onto the stage and received the trophy I had dreamed of since I was 18. The host asked me if I had anything to say. My gaze swept over Emily in the audience. I took out a ring and slowly knelt down. "Emily, I know this is sudden, but I want to ask you, will you marry me?" Below the stage, Emily was in tears, nodding with tears in her eyes. Amidst the cheers and blessings of the audience, we kissed. And that figure who had been quietly following me since my divorce also finally left with a heavy RT. Emily and I set our wedding for the end of the year. At the end of the following year, she gave me a baby. I was in my 30s, becoming a father for the first time, and I was very happy. The name Sarah had completely faded from my life. I didn't really care anymore. After all, I now had an incredibly happy family, and I cherished all of it. I heard news of Sarah again when her new movie was released. Although it used a lot of artistic techniques, I immediately recognized it as the story of my relationship with Sarah. The interview segment with Sarah in the promotional trailer further confirmed my thoughts. She said, "When I was 20, I met someone who loved me very much, but I didn't know how to cherish it. When I looked back, he was already gone. I want to tell him that I never saw anyone else through him, it's just that the feelings were too intense, and it scared me. Robert, I'm sorry, and I love you." The promotional trailer ended, and at the very end was Sarah's obituary. She died by suicide a month before the movie was released due to depression. The location was the apartment we had lived in for 10 years. But I felt nothing. My phone in my pocket rang. It was Emily calling. "Honey, I bought some ribs to make soup. Can you come home early tonight?" A smile curved on my lips. I swiped away the video I had just watched, looked at the flowers I had just bought for her, and nodded, "Okay."